Hi, in this video, we're going to learn how if statements can be expanded to allow Tracy to make decisions between multiple conditions. In the last lesson, we learned that if statements can be used to have Tracy make decisions. In this scenario, we are checking if it is a weekday. If it is, the alarm will be set for 6 a.m. But what if we wanted to set the alarm for different times on the weekends? An if-else statement allows Tracy to make decisions between multiple options. In this case, if it is a weekday, the alarm will go off at 6 a.m., and if it is a weekend, the alarm will be set for 10 a.m. In Python syntax, we would write if followed by our condition, and then indent the command we want to complete when the condition is met. But if we look closer, we notice there will never be a case where it is not a weekend and not a weekday. Our choices here are really one or the other, which is where else comes in. When we write an if-else statement, we are having Tracy choose between conditions. Unlike if statements, Tracy will be forced to make a choice between the conditions given. To force this, we use else as the final condition in our if-else block. We can have as many conditions or choices as we want. What if your alarm goes off for school every weekday at 6, on Saturdays you sleep in, so your alarm doesn't go off until 10, but on Sundays you have soccer practice, so your alarm goes off at 8:30? Well, we can write an if-else statement with multiple conditions, where we use the structure of if, elif, else. Tracy will have to make a decision between the conditions given to her. We can have as many conditions as we want. If you need a different alarm time for every day of the week, it's no problem. Just use if for the first condition, elif for all those in the middle, and else for the final condition. Let's break down the different scenarios in this code. Our length variable has been set to 5. Tracy checks the first condition, which is length is less than 10, which is true. Tracy completes the commands indented beneath. Once these commands are completed, Tracy skips the other conditions and completes the code found below the if-else statement. In this case, our length value is set to 20. Tracy checks the first condition, length is less than 10, and determines that it is false. She then moves to the next condition, length is greater than 10, which is true, so she completes the commands beneath it. Once these commands are completed, she moves to the code that follows the if-else statement. When our length value is set to 10, Tracy checks the first condition to see if length is less than 10 and finds it false, so she moves to the next condition. She finds this condition false as well, so she moves to the next condition. After checking all other conditions and finding them all false, Tracy completes the commands found beneath the else block and draws a circle. The syntax we use for an if-else statement is simple, but we need to pay close attention to indentation. We start our if-else statement with if, and then write the condition followed by a colon. All commands to be performed when this condition is true are indented below. We write our elif conditions in a similar manner, using the word elif and the condition and then a colon. All commands are indented below. The statement concludes with the word else followed by a colon. We don't place a condition next to the word else because this is performed anytime the other conditions are false. The commands to be performed are indented below. We can also combine or nest if-else statements inside one another. In this case, the first condition will be checked first. If it is true, it will run the commands inside and skip the rest of the statements. If the first condition is false, it will move to the else block. Inside the else block, it will then check the second if condition. If this condition is true, it will run the commands inside. If it is false, it will run the commands in the else block. We can nest as many if-else statements as we'd like in this way. Let's take a look at an example in the editor. In this program, we are asked to graphically represent if a number entered by a user is positive, negative, or 0 by drawing a plus sign, minus sign, or 0. I started our code by writing functions that draw a plus sign, minus sign, and 0, using all the commands we've already learned. So let's start by asking for user input. We can write number equals int input enter a number. Once we get this value, we want to check if it's positive, negative, or 0. We'll start our if statement by checking if the number is positive. So if number is greater than 0, then we want to call our draw plus function. Next, we'll check if the number is negative. So elif number is less than 0, we want to call our draw minus function. The last condition is if the number is 0, but that's the only last possibility. So all we type is else and call our draw 0 function. Let's see how this code works. Good. Negative. Good. And positive. Great. In this lesson, we learned how to use if-else statements to have Tracy make decisions between multiple conditions. Use if-else statements to write the next set of Tracy programs.